this month is my birthday month, and I found myself feeling this weird mix of feeling grateful and kind of down, even when thinking, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be celebrating, right? If you've ever felt confused about why birthdays can bring up complicated feelings, you're definitely not the only one. This is so common. Mine goes like this. Months before, I think to myself, I'm going to go all out this year. Bigger celebration, maybe finally have friends over. Then, as the date gets closer, I get less and less excited. I just want something simple. Then I get this tug of war between wanting to lay low versus wanting to do something exciting. I ask questions like, well, why do I have to plan it? Then feeling like I just don't want to do anything. This happens to me every year. So, today I want to share a bit about the psychology behind birthday blues, the actual research on why this happens, and some evidence-based ways to shift that vibe. Welcome to the Mental Path Podcast. I'm Dr. Gretchen Guevara. I'm a psychiatrist, and in this show, we're all about learning practical ways to build resilience, blending medical science, psychology, and personal development tools to take care of our mental health. Here, I share simple and actionable strategies that I teach in my clinical work and use myself so that I feel calm, confident, and happy. So what's the science behind birthday blues? Let's start with what's happening in our brains, looking at possible triggers for those fleeting low mood that usually creeps up on birthdays. Here's what's really interesting. The brain can be very vigilant time tracker and planner. The brain knows when something is about to come up. Birthdays are temporal landmarks. These are special dates that make our brains naturally stop and reflect, like Christmas or New Year's and anniversaries. So for me, I notice around September 1st, I'm more sensitive to my experiences, like my mind is naturally putting everything into the context of my goals, thinking about purpose, my relationships. There are research studies that show that around these special dates, we automatically start doing this life review thing, like asking questions like where we've been, where we thought would be, maybe what we've accomplished. This is so common around birthdays and New Year's. It's like similar to when I think about my relationship when my wedding anniversary is coming up. Or I think about how fast my kids are growing around their birthdays. It's like a birthday is this annual performance evaluation, but for your entire existence and no pressure, right? There's an interesting research on something called expectation gap as well. When we build up an event in our heads, your brain creates this specific picture of how it should go. We visualize how we want things to happen. The bigger the expectation, the more disappointed we feel when it doesn't match up, when the reality doesn't match up to our imagination or what we expected. It's like hoping for this amazing birthday dinner and getting takeout food, for example. Even if the food is great, but if your brain is comparing this to the fantasy you created earlier, we're going to be disappointed. Have you had that experience before? I'm pretty sure a few birthdays ago, I've probably had something like that. Now, here's the other thing too. Because of social media, we get trapped into this comparison thinking. There's so many studies on how social media affect our mood, especially when people see birthday celebrations online and how that can actually make them feel worse about their own special day. See, when your brain sees those highlight reels like the big parties, those perfect Instagram moments, and start comparing our behind-the-scenes reality, that can just play in your head and you might get yourself trapped in this negative thought loops. Even if we're feeling fine about our quiet special birthday before, suddenly you might be wondering why we're not surrounded with a bunch of people celebrating with us. Around our birthdays, we'll also start thinking about relationships. There's this deeper layer from our childhood that your brain starts digging up during this birthday season. Attachment theory tells us that our early birthday experiences shape how we feel about them as adults. So, if birthdays were complicated in your family, maybe birthdays were ignored, or there was pressure, or they brought up family drama, those patterns can show up every year. See, our nervous system remembers, even when our conscious mind doesn't. The thing is, one way to make this better is to actually have new birthday experiences associated with positive emotions to replace old ones. But if we're trapped in past hurt, we end up racking up more down birthdays instead of creating new, happier ones. There's also this other factor that has to do with seasons. For some of us, timing of the year matters too. Like if your birthday falls in winter months, for example. There's research on seasonal affective disorder that shows less sunlight can actually impact our mood. So if your birthday falls in some of those months, and if you live in an area where your birthday month falls in a cold or dark season, that might be affecting your mood too. It has to do with our circadian rhythms, that's your body's natural clock. They're affected by light, and that can influence how we feel on any given day, including birthdays. So what can we do? What are different ways to reframe this so that you are having a special day and not feeling so down around your special month? How do we work with our brains instead of against them? Let's look at different strategies here. First, let's look at thought reframing strategies. You know that I'm big on this. Cognitive behavioral research shows us that we can actually shift our expectations in real time. Instead of thinking, this has to be perfect, we can definitely practice thinking, this can be meaningful in its own way, in a new way. So that means we have to really practice ways on how to catch those negative thoughts and spend some time rephrasing them, reframing them so that you can give a new and better meaning to your current experience. For me, once I notice that I'm starting to have down or negative thoughts like, I want this birthday to be special, but it's probably not going to be, I catch my thoughts ASAP and reframe that to something else that's more helpful and hopeful. Maybe something like, I will make this day special for me, not for anyone else, even in the simplest and smallest ways. And year after year, it always turns out great. This is also where self-compassion becomes so important. Dr. Kristen Neff's research on self-compassion shows that being kind to ourselves, especially on emotionally charged days, actually helps regulate our nervous system. Instead of, I shouldn't feel sad on my birthday, we can say something like, it makes sense that I have complex feelings about these days because of the reasons we talked about earlier. As a mom, I tell my kids, it's okay to have big feelings about big days. I feel what I feel, and if it drags me down, we remember that my brain can help me feel better. Also remember that feelings are just signals. I really think they're just invitations for reflection. I also remind myself that I have people who love me and are celebrating with me, and really focus on quality connection over quantity, especially during my birthday. Studies consistently show that having one or two meaningful connections is more beneficial for mental health than having a big group. To me, as I'm getting older, I really value that one-on-one time. I just have better conversations, more intimate connection with people, rather than big groups all the time, you know? This applies to birthdays too. Maybe it's not about the party size, but about who you're sharing your day with and how present you can be. For me, that's my family. I love creating personal rituals around birthdays, and here we can get really creative. Research on rituals and emotional regulation show that creating our own meaningful traditions can actually help us feel more grounded and make this day really more special for us. This could be writing yourself a letter, taking a solo walk in nature, or hiking on your own, doing something that feels like you. This year, what I did was a longer early morning run. I also realized that just 1 week before my birthday, I was really into this perimenopause exercise challenge that I found on YouTube. That was actually very fun and challenging. So in my head, I just gave myself a 7-day challenge to spice up my workout, almost like giving myself permission to welcome this season in my health with open arms. That's the perimenopause season, and feel strong and ready at the same time. Let's see, something else that I did this month was I cut my hair short. I haven't had my hair this short for the last 5 years, and it's really refreshing. It really made me feel like this is something that I did for myself for this month for my birthday. The key is making it personal, not like a show or not like a performance. Even if it's super simple, make it fun and special. And finally, here's a practice that's backed by tons of research and probably my favorite around my birthday season, especially when I'm all in my head. I focus on gratitude and growth. Gratitude studies show that actively noticing what we're thankful for can really shift our brain chemistry. But for me, I like to take it a step further. Instead of just gratitude, I really ask myself, what about honoring your growth? I think about questions like, how did I get stronger this year? And I go month by month. I even go decade by decade, really taking in those milestones. And then bringing myself back to the present. Focus on all the things I'm thankful for right now, including having another birthday to celebrate. Really, when I do this, rather than thinking my time is up and focusing on regrets, I always end up thinking about, whoa, I feel like I'm just getting started. Then I get excited about what's to come. Okay, before we wrap up, here are some questions you can use on your birthday. What's one thing you're genuinely proud of from this past year? How have you grown even in small ways that maybe other people might not notice? What would make your birthday feel authentic to who you are now? And what old birthday expectations are you ready to let go? Really, save this episode and listen to it every birthday, or maybe even send it to someone along with your birthday gift to them. All right, here's what I want you to remember. Birthday blues are normal human psychology. There's nothing wrong with your brain if you feel complicated emotions on your special day. This is an invitation for reflection. The research shows us that we can work with our brains and nervous system to create more meaningful experiences. If you listen to all my other episodes, this is something that I talk to you over and over about, how you have more control of your thoughts than you think. Try one small thing differently this birthday season. Maybe it's adjusting expectations, maybe it's creating a new ritual for yourself. And I'd love to hear how you're reimagining your relationship with birthdays. Share your stories because they help all of us feel less alone in this time of our lives. Okay, I will see you again next week. We have 2 more episodes to go for this season, and starting Season 5, we're going to move on to every other Monday, and a lot of my content will be on my YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. All right, take care. See you next week.